Hi guys, it's Rachel. So I'm here to respond to a tag called Our TBRS Fun, I think I got the name of that right, by the lovely Candy over at the Great Literary Rabbit Hole. I think I got her name right. Her channel is sort of new. A lot of you probably know her from Candy Soul and Soil, and now she has a book channel as well, and it's delightful. If you're a reader like me, go check it out if you haven't already. So I've been meaning to respond to this for a while, and as most of you know, I haven't been well, but I'm not going to talk about that here. If you're curious, I posted a video about a week or so ago called Health Update, and I go over all of that there. Clears up some of the mystery of what was wrong with me. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to try to respond to these tags. Let's see. So the first prompt is, how many books are currently or normally on your TBR? So as in TBR, typically over the past, when I think TBR, it's just basically everything that I want to read. So for example, I keep track of all of my books on an app, and right now I have over 600 books on my TBR. And I know that there are more books that I want to read, but the cataloging is for books that I own, like just books that I own. I also have a list called coveting, like books that I want. But yeah, to put that into perspective, I have over 600 books in this house that I haven't read yet. I also have a TBR list for the year, just books that I was hoping to read for the year, and there's over 100 books on that list, and obviously that's not going to happen. What's funny is I had set my goal for the year at around, I think, 40. I thought that would be reasonable. So I just add to it, even though I know I'm not going to read 100 books. It gives me options. It just gives me something to play around with if I change my mind. Let's see if we can move on to the next prompt, because I'm worried if I keep talking, I'm going to be answering other prompts, as happens with these. How do you choose TBR books, and have you ever gamified your TBR with prompt jars or TBR games? I don't think I've ever gamified my TBR, although that is fun, and so are the prompt jars. I did pull a prompt from a jar in a bookstore. It was like a prompt of something to buy, I think, and I can't remember if I followed the prompt or not. How do I choose TBR books? I'm really not sure how to answer that. I'll come back to that, because I want to read everything. So do you have reading areas of focus to choose books for? I guess I do. I mean, I have different interests. So there's history, there's music, there's art, there's Gothic literature, philosophy. So sometimes I look at my TBR for the year and I try to round it out. Like, as I said, having such a gigantic library, I don't know, I try to make sure that I'm like reading from all the genres and not getting stuck in one corner, although rabbit holes are fun. Let's see, what's the next one? Does a TBR help you focus? I don't know as it helps me focus so much as it causes some overwhelm, but it might help me focus. I know for sure with the Gothic literature tag that we do every November, Gothlit November, creating the TBR for that is so much fun, and it does really help me focus. I've been lucky, very lucky the last couple of years with finding the time to read the amount of books that I tend to read for Gothlit November. I don't know why, but I'm just much more focused for that event. Maybe it's because I really love Gothic literature. I don't know, but I can say that TBR really helps me focus regarding that particular tag. And I tend to, for the most part, be able to fulfill my goal. Even though it's not about reading as many books as you can, I tend to be able to fulfill it for the most part. And then as far as my TBR for the year, it is fun for me sometimes in the evening to sit and look at my list that I've written out, or the list that I have on my app for the year, to choose the next book that I'm going to read. I try to stick to the list that I've already made for the year. So it kind of, it sometimes helps me focus. I guess we'll answer it like that. Do you suffer from the book noise of a TBR? Yeah, I do from time to time. I'm going to move on. Do you give your TBR a time limit? And does a TBR make you stress about reading quick enough? So yeah, that kind of is a carryover from the last prompt. Do you suffer from the book noise of a TBR? Yeah, because I do give myself a time limit when it comes to Gothlit November. I usually tell myself November into December, although we all tend to have so much fun with the Gothic literature that sometimes it carries over even into January. However, for the other challenge that I'm participating in this year, the Candy Reading Challenge 2025, there's a time limit there. Although it's not strict, I try to read a book, one book for each month. That's the idea of the reading challenge for the year. And I'm behind. So I do stress a little bit, even though I know I'm not like reading for money, you know, or to save a life. It does make me stress a little bit, because right now I'm in the middle of like 3 books that are part of that challenge, because the books that I chose are so gigantic, and because I've been so very sick some days, it's all I can do to read a page. So yeah, I do stress. However, I tell myself, you're not supposed to be stressing. This is supposed to be for fun. Let's see, what is the next prompt? Do you have rebellion syndrome, not wanting to read a book because you put it on your TBR and now feel that you have to read it? No, I don't think so. Not really. I tend to, for the most part, want to read everything that I've put on my TBR. It's just all about when I get around to it and when the time is right. Let's see. Do you keep books on your TBR until they are read, or swap the TBR around regularly? Okay, so yeah, I tend to keep the books on my TBR until they are read. I'm talking about the TBR that I have. I create one every year. So if there's books that I didn't read last year, they carry over to the next year. And that's one of the reasons why my TBR for the year keeps getting longer and longer. Not only do I add to it, I bring the books over. So I have some books on my list for 2025 that I think have been on my TBR for the year since like 2019. Only a few, but they're there. And there's a ton from last year and the year before for sure. Let's see. Have you ever killed a book by having it on your TBR too long? I am not exactly sure how to answer that. If you're saying like, does that imply losing interest in it? Possibly. I have some books that I've owned for over 15 years that I was really, really excited to read when I first bought them. And one of the reasons I haven't read some of those books is perhaps my interest has waned in it a bit. Like I used to read a lot of historical fiction set in the Middle Ages, but I read some ones that were pretty bad. So maybe that's what sort of put me off feeling inspired about it. But for the most part, I would say no, I don't think I've necessarily killed a book by having it on my TBR too long. It just makes me feel a little bit more daunted, like, oh yeah, I've been wanting to read that for years, you know? Do you have a tick list for your TBR to tick off books as you read them? Absolutely. I love ticking things off. Love it. I've always done that. And like I said, I also have an app that I use. It's just so much fun. I love ticking box. What one change do you think would help your TBR be more fun? I don't know. What one change do I think could help my TBR be more fun? I think it's pretty fun already. I think I just have too many books to read. I'm sorry that my answers aren't very creative. It's a pretty straightforward VR, but I wanted to do it. Final conclusion, TBR is fun or not? Okay, so right now, no, but that's just given, you know, my health circumstances. I mean, there's other reasons too. Like I do get busy, we all do, but as I said, I'm very behind. There were so many books I wanted to read this year, and it's okay. I mean, it doesn't mean anything. Like it didn't have to be read in 2025. I'm just hoping to read all the books that I have. So are TBRs fun or not? But overall, I'd say, yeah, they're fun. It's fun creating lists. Like, who doesn't like creating lists? I've always written lists just for fun. Like, when I was a teenager, I used to write lists of all of the albums that I owned, you know? They're fun. There's sort of like this wax and wane about it, you know, given how I'm feeling with my health situation and everything. But lately, yeah, it's been, I went through a period of time recently where I was like, I shouldn't have committed to reading any of these books because I really was starting to feel stressed out when I realized like I'm reading like 9 books right now. And some of them I haven't picked up in a couple of weeks because I'm focusing maybe solely on one book for a week, try to get it finished up, you know? But I'm going to get better at, not adding things to the list, I guess, for the year to make myself feel less daunted. But it's so hard because I'm always discovering something new. And it's crazy when you discover an author even that you've never heard of before, and then you read them and you're like, where have I been? Like, where have I been all this time? And it is fun. Like, TBRs are fun when you do allow for some wiggle room. If there's something that you feel really inspired to read, you allow yourself to read it. That is something that I learned to do these past couple of years, because I always used to just read sort of on a whim, whatever I felt inspired to read. And it really suited me that way. And I was able to really engage with it, give it my full attention, and really learn from it. And it would feel like the book was with me all day long. Even while I wasn't reading it, I was thinking about it, you know? So yeah, creating lists is fun, but give yourself some wiggle room, because we never know when we're gonna have like that flash of inspiration. So I guess that's it. I think I answered all the questions, and I hope I did a decent job. Just wanted to pop on here real quick and respond to this VR that I've been meaning to do for a long time. So I hope I was clear in my answers, and if I wasn't, you can just pop some questions below. Be like, Rachel, you really didn't answer that. Sorry to be so elusive, but I tried. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.